Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. We are here for the Derby d'Italia preview. And I had to get a Juventus fan on for this one as much as we all dislike them, but this one we don't dislike as much. He is, of course, the better half, if I may say so, of the Italian football podcast. Shout out to Nemo, of course, as well. But Carlo Garganese joins us today to preview the Derby d'Italia Sunday with kickoff time, 5 p.m. UK time kickoff. Welcome, Carlo. How are you doing, bro?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you said the better half. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, if only you didn't support Juve, you definitely would have been the better half.
Yeah.
But how are things and how are things in the world of Juventus? You know, it's been an interesting season up until now, right?
Yeah, I would say up until the last week, things were going quite well, and then the last week, I'll include the Lazio game, and this is my biggest concern ahead of the Derby d'Italia for Juventus, is there's just been a definite physical drop-off in the last week, and we saw that in the Stuttgart game, and that's my biggest concern. I mean, Juventus were completely dominated from start to finish by Stuttgart in a way that was quite concerning, to be honest with you. Everybody's can lose. It's Juventus' first defeat of the season. They were going to lose at some point, but it's the manner of the defeat, and that's what's so worrying about it. And looking ahead to the Inter game, there's not really too much they can change in terms of personnel. 2 or 3 players were kind of half rested for the Stuttgart game, but apart from that, there's not too much that they can change because there's so many players out. So yeah, going into the Inter game, I'm not feeling too confident, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll talk about injury issues, especially for both teams coming into this game, which makes the game actually a little bit more interesting in how both managers will approach it. But sticking to Juve for a little bit, Carlo, I've got some stats here from soccerstats.com. We kind of just show a comparison of how Juve are performing right now, match day 8 compared to previous seasons, and you're pretty much on par really with like previous Allegri seasons. +2 on his first one, +3 on the second one, and -1 compared to Allegri's season last year. But obviously the stat that stands out to everyone at the moment is that goals against is unreal, 1 goal conceded. Talk to us about this Thiago Motta new project. Is he Allegri version 2.0? Like what the hell is going on?
I just recorded the pod a few hours ago, and I just went absolutely ballistic about this comparison that I keep seeing people make between Motta and Allegri. It's driving me mad.
That's literally why I did it.
I know why you did it. Yeah, he did a Sanit. Everybody knows Sanit is an Inter fan. Yeah, this is what he does. But it stirs the pot. Yeah, but they're completely different managers. I mean, they couldn't be more different. One, as I said on my own pod, I said, one manager, Allegri, plays with a deep defence. The other manager plays with a high line. One manager doesn't care less about possession, has like 30% possession. The other manager likes to have 60%, 70% possession. One likes to be positive and control the play, dominate the play, take the game to the opposition. The other one doesn't mind. He's more interested in being solid and playing for moments. So they're completely different managers. If Juventus are, just because Juventus are struggling offensively, which I think is also that, I think that is very much partly down to Motta. It's partly a personnel thing. It's partly Motta. Well, just because they struggle to score, just like Allegri struggled to score, then you don't all of a sudden become the new Allegri or the same Allegri. So that comparison drives me mad. I think it's lazy, and it's just I think it's stupid.
The meme is funny though. The one with the face, with like Thiago Motta's face on Allegri. It's funny.
It's funny, yeah. I mean, the Alto Gol did a fantastic. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Where they did the kind of like toon version film of the exorcism of Thiago Motta and Allegri coming out. I mean, I thought that was brilliant. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, it's good fun, but for serious talk, they're completely, for me, they're completely opposite. They're completely opposite. The only comparison I could make is you could maybe make the argument that it's not entertaining to watch either of them for different reasons, though. For Motta, it's not entertaining maybe to some because it's a bit sterile. It's a bit, keeping the ball, keeping safe ball, but not creating enough chances. It's a bit, I can see why some might say that. And for Allegri, it's boring because they just don't really play football. So it's that's the only comparison I would make between the two.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think on your pod we talked about it. I made a comparison to Arteta in terms of that. These very pragmatic. He's a young up-and-coming coach, but it doesn't mean that he plays swashbuckling football. He's very happy to sit back when it needs to be done. The style of management as well, this kind of giving the armband around to different players in the team as well. It kind of reminds me of Arteta quite a bit. So I see the comparisons there. When are you going to start about the attacking? If we look at on soccer stats again, if you look on the right-hand side here, in terms of goal scoring, you're bank mid-table team at the moment, same goal scorer as Como and Parma. When is this part of the game going to start to worry you and Juve fans, or is this already start to worry you?
I think it has to, yeah. I mean, I remember looking a couple of weeks ago at the expected goals as well, which was way down, like near the bottom of the table, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is. I haven't looked for a couple of games since, but it might have gone up a bit since then. But yeah, it's definitely been after kind of 8 games. You can start to say that it's not just bad form or just bad luck, a bit of a coincidence. It's a little bit more systematic than that. And I think, as we said when you came onto my pod, I said that it is probably something that Motta needs to improve in his game. His football is, like you said, like Arteta. They keep possession really, really well, but it's done in a way almost to protect yourself defensively more than it is to be a weapon offensively. So you keep the ball and you position your players in possession in such a way that if you do lose possession and there's a turnover, it's hard for the opposition to hurt you. And also that includes like not throwing too many men forward, not putting too many men into the box, not creating those overloads, not risk taking in maybe the way passes that you make or all that kind of stuff. And I think that's definitely a weakness. And we saw that last season with Motta as well at Bologna. As amazing as they did, it was a miraculous achievement what they did last season. But we even saw that last season as well, like what we've seen at Juventus. So I think it's definitely a Motta, if we want to call it a problem, it's a Motta problem for sure. But at the same time as that, I think that there are definitely some limitations in the attack in terms of personnel, in terms of quality, and also injuries as well have definitely affected Juventus's attack this season so far.
Speaking of the injuries, Carlo, has there been question marks on the preparation? Because like at Inter now we're saying, maybe Inzaghi, backroom staff, maybe they've overdone it a little bit in the summer with this, because we know that some of the players have said it. I think Inzaghi himself said it, because they're preparing for this extra long season with the Club World Cup at the end. They kind of intensified the pre-season, and yesterday we saw also Carlos Augusto popping his hamstring as well. That's another one gone. There has been similar question marks to the preparation to Motta?
I haven't seen it so much actually, as we have with Inter. With Inter, it was kind of quite public knowledge, wasn't it, that they had this more intense pre-season. I haven't seen that so much with Juventus. I'm not privy to kind of inside, like if there has been anything. I mean, generally speaking, it is the Italian way of doing things. They are more intense with their training, especially pre-season with the infamous Tiros, where they go to the mountains and they run them into the ground, almost like an army camp. And we discussed this, me and Nemo, like the number of injuries generally, full stop, not just Juventus, not just Italian football. Italian football is quite bad. There's a lot of teams that are decimated right now, not just Juventus. There's like Genoa, like a really bad. Atalanta have been quite bad recently. There's certainly some other teams that I'm forgetting that even Inter have got quite a few players out as well. It's nowhere near as bad as Juve, but it's still not. They've just got a better squad to cope with it. But also outside of Europe, I mean, outside of Italy. I mean, in Europe, I mean, Arsenal's injury list at the moment is horrific at the moment, the number of injuries. So I wonder whether, with all the games that are being played, and we know it's a problem, there's too many matches being played, and there hasn't basically been a rest since before COVID, a proper summer or seasonal rest since before COVID, whether maybe they do need to adjust the way that they're training these players. The way that they've been doing things before is now, with the added games and without having these rest periods, for one reason or another, maybe they need to change the way that they're training these players. Maybe that is a reason for it. So maybe that Juventus have made similar mistakes there. I don't know, but it is terrible. The Juventus's crisis is injury problems, and there you can see the players that are out. But there's also a number of players who have been playing with injuries or not fully fit. Like McKennie was back the other day. Gatti wasn't risked because he's been carrying a bit of a physical problem for a few weeks now. That's why he didn't go international duty. It's because he's been carrying and he's been playing with an injury, and they've been managing him, and so that's why he didn't play against Stuttgart. And so there's others that are not fully fit, and then there's players that are being overplayed. Like Yildiz and Vlahovic are having to play every game because other players are out or because there is no alternatives, and that's obviously affecting their performance as well.
Yeah, 100%. The injury list is extensive. I was saying yesterday, my post-match, Inter fans are worried about the game against Juve, but I was like, you can't really moan because Juve, if anything, Juve fans have even more to worry about because the star signing Coop Miners is out till probably November. Milik, the only backup, this is reloaded. The only backup to Vlahovic is out. We've got, as much as we moan about our 5 strikers or the backups to Lautaro and Thuram, at least we do have 5 different options that Inzaghi has. And obviously Bremer, the equivalent to Acerbi, he's out for the season. Nico Gonzalez is out. Douglas Luiz, Pogba, obviously we know. Arthur, he still exists. I didn't even know he was still on your squad.
They might have to bring him back. I think they might have to use him. But I mean, look, against Stuttgart, you're talking about forwards, and I agree. I actually think that could be a problem for Inter, the quality of their backups to their forwards. But Juventus, Vlahovic went off in the 67th minute or midway through the second half against Stuttgart, with Juventus being completely up home, with Vlahovic being awful.
Who played up front then after?
And they didn't have any strikers on the bench. They brought on Adzic, who's a midfielder. So there it is. I mean, have a look at Juventus's bench for tomorrow. I know we're going to go through the teams after, but I mean, it's horrendous. Look at that bench. If Juventus need to change the game, who's going to come on and change the game out of those? No. There isn't anybody. I mean, it's horrendous. So that's kind of where Juventus are at the moment. The difference in squad depth between the two teams, I think, is very, very apparent.
Yeah, I think the squad building in the summer with the Giuntoli coming in, that was probably the couple of mistakes there, isn't it? Just a few backup pieces are left over. But I guess there's only so much you can do. It's such a overhaul of a summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I won't be that critical on Giuntoli for that, because if you revolutionise a team, you're not going to do it in one window. There's no way that Juventus team and squad could have been, they could have been a panacea all in one summer. It's impossible. It was going to take 2 or 3 3 windows to get Juventus kind of to where they are. And I think they've made good progress, but there's obviously, you can see the gaps there.
Yeah, but in that, Thiago Motta deserves credit though, right? Like, he's been throwing in, even when he wasn't even forced to, he throws in that Ruhi guy. He threw him in as a left back at one point, started the season with Bangula on the left, throws in Savona, on the other side, Inzaghi, I think, unless literally someone, it has completely gives up or falls to the ground, I don't think he'll play a youth player like that. So he does deserve credit for that.
No, did you see his quote the other day? He come up with
I was
quote.
thinking of you. It was literally an Allegri quote, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you need to do the Gavetta, Serie C, Serie B, like me and my brother did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's. I think that's just an Italian culture thing, isn't it? It's not one person or the other, but yeah. No, yeah. Nima mentioned that on our pod actually today. He says he thinks that Inzaghi should start like trying to use some more of these younger players.
Yeah. I think now yesterday with Carlos Augusto out, he was the kind of like he's the left wing back, but also the left centre backup. So Thomas Palacios probably now will get out of this gulag that Inzaghi puts these young players in, because he hasn't even seen the pitch for 1 minute yet. And Tajon Buchanan's also coming back. He's not a young player, but he's coming back from his injury as well. So interested to see if he starts to get some minutes now. Yeah, let's have a quick look at Inter's injury list before we get into the lineup. So we have Buchanan out, Acerbi definitely missing. Hakan, as far as we know, is also definitely missing this Juve game, although they're still saying that there could be a potential chance of him making the squad, but I don't think he'll make it.
What injury does he have, Çalhanoğlu?
He was holding his groin, and I think that they said like I think it's like a groin injury. Acerbi was hamstring, and then Carlos Augusto yesterday was hamstring.
Yeah, usually groin and hamstring, they're usually 3 weeks. Like, I know they've advanced those, but yeah, I think it'd probably be quite difficult to come back.
Yeah. Well, Inzaghi said that Hakan kind of caught it before it got serious, so he kind of left the pitch at the 10th minute, I think, before it developed any further. But still, the timing of it means even if he's just 1 week out, it's just a few days too late for this game.
Yeah.
But at least Zielinski's back. He came back last night, even though he missed a sitter. Did you watch the Inter game last night? Did you manage to catch the highlights?
Yeah, I watched most of it. It wasn't a particularly good performance at all.
Who was worse, Inter or Juve?
Oh, Juve were worse. There's no doubt about it. But obviously, Juventus were playing a stronger opponent. Inter, like the positive spin you could put on the Inter performance is that they did rest 5 or 6 players who will play against Juve, whereas Juventus rested maybe 2 or 3 players that will play against Inter. And so there's obviously Inter are going to be much better than that, whereas Juventus will be better. But there's not, it's not the numbers wise, it's not the turnover. So that's it. But Inter were bad. They were bad. But they improved after the subs came on. I think there were some lessons though for Inter. Definitely the lack of depth in top quality attackers. We saw that there's a massive drop off between the front. Lautaro, Thuram to Taremi and Arnautovic. I think we can all pretty much safely say now is he's not good enough. He's not good enough.
I think I've tried to defend Arnautovic, but I think yesterday it's like that. Every Inter player, or any player on any team, there's a moment where like that's it. That's the last. You're gonna be kind of. The fans have given up on you now. Like we saw it with Correa in the past, even though he's still somehow part of this team now. He's done. But going back to that comment, Carlo, I guess you also agree or disagree with the Italian pundits. A lot of them saying that Inter have 2 squads. These guys can put out 2 teams, and that's not.
I think it depends on the areas of the pitch. Like I think that defense, there's a lot of really excellent depth. I think at Inter, the centre of midfield, pretty good. Although at the same time, that's been my biggest disappointment of Inter so far this season has been the midfield's lack of control of games. Like I feel like Inter haven't controlled games enough this season, and that's my one hope for Juventus actually going into Sunday. Other than that, I have very little hope for Juventus. Is that if Motta can get his kind of way of playing back, which is controlling the game with his patterns, with his positional play, to be the kind of like the bosses on the pitch, that Juventus might be able to get some control in the centre of midfield. I know they have players out. Koopmeiners, if he doesn't play, makes that more difficult. McKennie, if he does play, makes that more difficult. But it's I think that that's generally speaking. I think that the depth in the defence and the midfield departments, and even on the wide areas, the wing back areas at Inter's fine. It's fine. It's an attack. in attack where there's just a huge drop off. Arnautovic is not good enough, and Taremi, who I'm not going to write him off, but what I will say is that I think that it's not the same Taremi as it was 2 years ago, but that's natural. He's 32 years old, and so he's not as good as he was. Can he still be useful? We'll wait and see. I still think he's got qualities there, but it's still, even with him, it's still a big drop off from Thuram and Lautaro.
Yeah. Taremi, he's great pressing and link up play and everything, but we do need him to start scoring or at least being more threatening in the box. Definitely. Well, speaking of that, what about your guys up front? I mean, as you said, you only got one guy up front, really. He's your top scorer with 5 goals, but when we look down, if I go to the big chances missed, he is way on top and he might be actually top of Serie A with that 8 big chances missed. So talk to us a bit about Vlahovic coming into this game. How has he been for you this season? He's still, to me, it doesn't seem like he's definitely not earning that 12 million net, whatever he's earning now, being the most paid player in Serie A level. He still hasn't made that jump for me that I thought he was going to make, because I was a big fan of Vlahovic at Fiorentina. Yeah, what do you think about him, and are you expecting big things from him in this game? Because usually he does struggle against Inter as well.
Yeah, he's never scored in the San Siro in 8 games. I saw earlier today a stat of that, and he's not doing enough. He's not. I mean, we can look at the number of goals he scored, and he has the odd game here and there where, like the game against Leipzig, where he was fantastic. It's a brilliant goal, but it's now those kind of games are becoming more rare, and it's just his general overall level of performance within games. Even if he's chipping in with the odd goal, it's just not good enough. He can't play for the team. He can't protect the ball. He can't join in and link up with his teammates. He's too easy to mark. His movement's not good enough. He turns too slow. We're still not seeing these improvements. We're not seeing any improvements in those weaknesses in his game. And I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to work for him there. I mean, I said elsewhere that Joshua Zirkzee is available, probably going to be almost certainly going to be available in January now because of what's going on at Manchester United, on loan as well. If I'm Juventus have to, number one, regardless if it's Zirkzee or someone else, they have to sign another forward. They can't go the whole season with only Vlahovic. Milik is always injured, and I don't know when he's going to be back. But you can't go a whole season with one sport striker, even if that striker's Harry Kane or one of the best strikers in the world. You can't go with one striker for the whole season. And when it's Dusan Vlahovic, who's not playing, as inconsistently as he is, they have to go out and sign someone. Joshua Zirkzee is available. I would go all out for him if I'm Juventus, if I'm Giuntoli. Played with Motta, he knows Motta's game. Motta knows how to get the best out of him. He knows the league, and he can do the things that Vlahovic isn't doing, which is the guy just can't play for the team, and he can't link up with his teammates and protect the ball, and he just can't do any of that at all. It's not good enough from Vlahovic, I have to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind Inter also having a sniff at Zirkzee if that's a possible move. That would be. I think he'd perfectly fit a 2-striker formation. Yeah. Also, because if there's one weakness of him is he doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't. He doesn't get into goal scoring positions enough because he likes to drop deep a lot. Whereas in a 2-man system, he could play as the support striker. I think he would be. I would think he would be very good. But at Juventus, he would make the players around him better. He'd probably bring out more goals from Yildiz for certain. Who's only scored 1 goal this season, and and whoever's on the other side as well. So he will at least. Yeah, the team will score more goals, which obviously is a problem against. The team will score more goals with Zirkzee. With Vlahovic, he either scores himself or he's not helping the team at all.
Yeah, Lautaro's on a similar vein at the moment. Since he's come back after the late Copa America return, he's not been in his full, or definitely not in his 23-24 season form, MVP season form. But at least Thuram on the other end is firing on all cylinders at the moment. He saved our ass yesterday as well. And speaking of that, let's get into the predicted lineups, Carlo, for Sunday's game. For Inter is pretty much, as we expect, because some of the decisions are forced. Barella has to continue as CDM. I am a little bit concerned with Barella because now he's played 2 back-to-back games, full 90 minutes.
Coming off injury.
And he's just come back from injury. But I do have faith in Barella as CDM, and I think long-term, I don't know what you think as a Azzurri fan, I think I see Barella in that position long-term when he starts to slow down as well.
Yeah, potentially. I think he's got the footballing IQ to do that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only thing with Italy is that obviously Richie's come through and he's been brilliant so far. It's still too much of a small sample size to say he is the man for that position going forward. But so far he's been great, and he's very, very young as well. But I agree. I think that as he slows down, that could be a role for him for club and for country.
Because Conte used to play him in that. He was the backup Brozovic before we signed Aslani under Conte. So I always saw that even when he was 23, 24. The other positions, obviously, we know Zielinski's just come back from injury, and he hasn't really set the world alight yet. He's not been too impressive, Zielinski. What have you made of Zielinski's start at Inter? Did you expect more? I expected a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a good season with Napoli last season, did he?
He was pretty much out of the team because of the contract situation.
But I did expect more from him because he has been, he's technically, and he's had such a great Serie A career. I think it's been, we maybe should give him a little bit more time because he's had a stop-start time at Inter with injuries, hasn't he? Let's give him a month, 2 months without any injuries, and let's see, and then judge him. But so far hasn't really done that. I thought he was pretty good against City when he come on in that game against City.
No, he started.
He started that game. I remember him doing a great nutmeg in that game, which I know you would have liked. But let's give him a little bit more time. But he hasn't. Look, you would have expected Zielinski to break in the team, wouldn't you? You would have expected him to push out Mkhitaryan at his age by now, and he hasn't done that. So Mkhitaryan is actually picking up form. He had a pretty awful start to the season, and now he's been probably 3 or 4 games in a row one of our better players. So I don't think he's getting pushed out anytime soon. No, there you go. Yeah, so I think that says it all really about his kind of slow start. Yeah. Frattesi is definitely one that I want to watch out for. As you said, midfield battle will be big. So I'm not expecting our midfield to keep possession too much, but they need to, especially with Frattesi in there, I want to see him bring out his best qualities, which is, that dual winning, trying to carry the ball, get us on the counter attacks. Because I do expect us to maybe sit back a little bit against you guys, because you probably will have more of the possession as well. What do you make of Frattesi's development? I mean, for Italy, it seems like he's a certain starter. For Italy, but for Inter, I mean, it'll be interesting for Inter now that kind of him and Barella. How did you think? I didn't watch. I should have done really, because I raised this a few weeks ago. Like, can Barella and Frattesi play together? How were they together against young boys? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge in Barella in this role because this is not his usual role. But I think we got dominated yesterday, especially that first half. We were just completely overrun by young boys, so not great yesterday. As Mezzala, I think they can play together when they're both Mezzala. Even though I think Inzaghi sees Frattesi as the Barella alternative, he hardly ever plays them together. So far, that is kind of what I've seen him like. I do wonder whether they can both play Mezzala, because if you do that, I think you limit at least one of them, the qualities of one of their games. Because if you can't have both of them, like both like to push forward and can offer so much offensively, but you can't have both of them doing that. I don't think. I think one of them has to naturally be a little bit more cautious, and as a result, you're going to take something away from one of them. At least, and I think that's been the issue, maybe for Frattesi in his Inter career, and also, like you said, if Inzaghi sees him as a vice, Barella, then he's not going to get enough chances, is he? But
No.
obviously Barella's been out, and Frattesi is, has been playing.
He's done okay in Barella's absence as the vice Barella. He's definitely done a bit. His passing percentages have definitely improved.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, that had to improve, because some of the numbers he was putting out are just not good enough. But I think what you said a few weeks ago is spot on with Frattesi, is that you can't use him in the build-up phase. You have to just accept that that's not him. That's not what he's good at. And if you do that, he's gonna harm the team probably. So you've just don't use Frattesi in the build-up. Have him use him further forward.
Yeah. So I hope he's able to kind of have those moments where in the transition he can hurt Juve. So I'm definitely keeping I think this is probably the biggest game that he starts for us. I don't think he started in any like big derby or anything before. He's always come on as a substitute, so this is a big test for him. On the right hand, Dumfries had a opinion splitting game. Some people were calling him man of the match. Some people were saying that he stank out the pitch as usual. Dumfries is a opinion splitting player. I know that you like him. Nima hates him. I'm kind of edged towards the middle, slightly disliking him, but I think it makes sense in this one to start Darmian, just because we know Gazette have got their lineup actually wrong. I just saw they've got Vlahovic on the wing.
I was waiting to say that myself. Is it that bad?
Yeah, so I'm guessing Darmian and Pavard are kind of there to kind of marshal Yildiz and Cambiaso, who likes to also drift in field. So yeah, what do you make of that? I would still start Dumfries in my opinion, just because he offers much more going forward. What would you do if you were Inzaghi?
Yeah, it depends on the game. I mean, I think that this has worked for Inzaghi though, hasn't it? He's generally played Darmian in the big games, so I mean, why should he change that? Dumfries hasn't been the best though, I think, this season. To be honest with you, my issue with the criticism of Dumfries was like people were criticising him like at this stage last season when he was like incredible at the start of the season.
Last year he was really good.
Yeah, but he was scoring so many goals, and I just think that people are just a little bit biased and a bit unfair. Like, we know his weaknesses, we know his limitations, but when he does do well, the way I would look at it is this, right? We actually had a question on our Q&A. Someone was saying like, who should Inter sign as their long-term right back? And I was thinking, and I was struggling to find, but there isn't actually that many top right backs at the moment in world football, in Europe, or even up and coming. There's not really that many great options.
No.
And that's why when people are critical of Dumfries, we can say that maybe he's not like at the level of the top right backs in the world like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But when you compare him to the best right backs in all of Serie A at other clubs, like he's actually still going to be one of the best in the league. So in that case, okay, you don't like Dumfries, okay, you're going to replace him. Well, who are you going to replace him with? I mean, are you going to take, who are you going to take, Savona or Dumfries? You're going to take Dumfries every day of the week. So that's the thing. That's the thing I would say. Yes, he's not. I'm not saying he's world class or he's amazing, but there actually isn't that many better right backs than him.
Yeah. No, I agree. We always come to that. It was like we sell him. I've always been in favor of selling him, but like then you ask the question who, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just but everywhere else at the back, the decisions make themselves. Pavard is someone else I'm keeping an eye out for. He's not had the greatest start to this season, but he did do better against young boys yesterday. And then Di Marco on the left, obviously. He's been our best player this season. I think most Inter fans will tell you that easily. And obviously Lautaro Thuram up front. Tell us about the Juve lineup. I was going to say Marco there for some reason. Carlo. Is that accurate? Obviously, aside from Vlahovic being in the wrong position.
I think so. I think the only kind of like we say, like the ballotaggio of like who could come in is Fagioli could be preferred to one of McKennie or Thuram. Other than that, I think the midfield and the attack basically picks itself. There can't be anyone else unless by some miracle Gonzalez is definitely out. Coop Miners, there's a slim chance that maybe, there's been some murmurings that maybe they might use some kind of protective protective wear on his ribs to protect him. There's been some murmurings about that. I mean, I think it's quite a long shot, and I think that Juventus will probably play the long game. It would be wise to play the long game on that and not risk him getting a bad injury. But there's been some murmuring, so maybe they might be they might be keeping that close to their chest, and they might even end up using him. I don't know, but I think it's unlikely. But unless that happens, I think that the attack picks itself because there's no other options. And the midfield, it's only Fagioli who could play instead of one of Thuram or McKennie. But I think they'll probably end up going with... They'll probably go with those three unless maybe Motta thinks, you know what, as I said before, our best chance of getting a result in this game is if we control the midfield. And Fagioli, if he's on his game, and he's been very inconsistent. He's had some brilliant games this season where he's been absolutely fantastic, including that Leipzig game where he looked like prime Verratti or prime Xavi in that game. And then he's had some games where he's been awful, like a couple of games at the start of the season, even for Italy, some games where he was just giving the ball away all the time. So he's a really weird one, knowing what to expect from Fagioli. But if Motta goes with him and he's on his game, maybe Motta thinks, I'm going to pick Fagioli because Fagioli gives us a better chance of controlling the possession and dictating the game than certainly McKennie does, who's not he's not good on the ball, for example. So yeah, Fagioli's the only one there. And then in defence, Kalulu and Gatti will definitely play. Cambiasso will definitely play. So those three are definite. The question is, Savona has been in bad form. He really struggled the other night against Leveling and Mittelstadt down that side against Stuttgart. He started to look a little bit... he's been playing too much, but that's again because of injuries and lack of options. Bremer's injury. He shouldn't be playing as much as he is, being thrown in this season. Maybe they might look at Savona and think, well, should we take him out? But if they haven't got many options, the only thing you can do is take him out and play either Cabal or Danilo. So if you play Cabal, you would stick Cambiasso over to the right and Cabal will go left. If you play Danilo, you would either play Kalulu at right back and play Gatti and Danilo at centre back, or you would play Danilo at right back. I think that's based on the form of Danilo, who's been very bad. He looks way past his best, got sent off and gave away the penalty the other night. I think that's very risky, and also Motta doesn't seem to fancy him at all. So I think that's risky. I think that you want to also keep your Gatti and Kalulu partnership together because they've been very, very good together. So I think that Juventus will want to keep those two together, in which case I think it's either Savona and Cambiasso at fullback, or it's Cambiasso and Cabal.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's two possible changes to that lineup. That's it. In terms of personnel.
Yeah. So both managers are kind of quite forced in their decisions at the moment, which makes sense. I think on reflection, looking at the lineups, Juve are definitely the ones more punished at the moment with injuries, missing bigger players in the likes of Koop Miners, Bremer, Nico Gonzalez. So that gives me a bit of confidence going into it. But in terms of match prediction, Carlo, I just can't look past a drab. I'm even tempted to go 0-0 draw. I'm thinking 1-1, but I wouldn't even be surprised if it ends up being a 0-0 draw. Where are you leaning with this?
I would take that right now, to be honest. I really would. I would say. I said it again. We did a prediction in our pod, and I said a week ago, I would have said the same. Definite. I would have said I'm really confident this is going to end up being a draw. But having watched Juventus physically, their physical condition in the last games, and I include the Lazio game, they didn't look physically good in that game. Juventus. It was only because Lazio were down to 10 men for like an hour that it was easy for Juve, like physically, and it didn't, but they looked lethargic. They didn't have much intensity or energy or pressing, and they had no pressing at all against Stuttgart. So I look at that, and I look at the number of players out, and I look at how there's no bench at all, no one that can come on. And if Juventus go behind in this game, there's no one to come on to attacking wise to change the game. So yeah, for that reason, I'm probably going to lean to Inter now. I think to win this game. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go. I don't think Juventus will get hammered, but I think I'm going to say like a 1-goal 1-goal win to win it. But I'll take a draw right now. Sign off on the draw right now.
Yeah, I think both teams physically were struggling at the moment. That's why I don't see Inter, even though you guys are struggling more with injuries and fitness. I think you saw at the end of the Roma game, the players like dropped to the ground. The Inter players like just physically so tired from that game. And then yesterday's we didn't really manage our energies very well. The game just ended up being much more intense than I think we expected. That's why I'm expecting.
Inter have had 1 day's less rest than Juventus, so that will help Juve a bit. But then again, Inter rotated kind of 6 players, so that kind of negates that a little bit. Whereas Juventus kind of played, a few more than Inter did. So it might help. Also, I mean, I guess Inter played cumulatively. Inter played on Sunday last week. Juventus played on Saturday. That might, that could help Juve a little bit. If I'm looking for positives from Juve's point of view. But I think you'd have to favour Inter in this game.
Okay, I hope you're right. Carlo. Thank you for coming on. 40 minutes. I think this was a nice, comprehensive preview with, as I said, the better half of the Italian Football Podcast. Please plug away, Carlo, your work and your Twitter handle.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure coming on. You can find us on, we're on all the social media channels, Italian Football Podcast. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. If you want to become a subscriber to the Italian Football Podcast, go to patreon.com/TIFP. It costs $2.99 a month, and then you'll get all of our content that we do throughout the week. And that includes a Monday show where we review the weekend Serie A action, a midweek review show where we review all the midweek action and midweek news. So, for example, we're recording this on Thursday. We've just recorded and we're just pushing out a review of the Champions League action of the Italian teams. And then we do a Q&A episode, which usually we push out on Tuesday or Wednesday, where we answer all the questions from our patrons, our subscribers. So that you get everything for $2.99 a month. Or if you don't want to become a patron, you don't want to pay for subscription, our Monday show is free for everyone, and you can get that on all the podcast apps or on YouTube. We're on YouTube as well, so you can watch us on YouTube as well.
Yeah, definitely. I am a Patreon and subscriber of the podcast. Definitely recommend it. Thank you, everyone that's tuned in. Make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out the Italian Football Podcast. See you Sunday night for a post-match reaction where Carlo hopefully was right and I was wrong. Ciao ragazzi, Forza Inter.